A former prep school student accused of raping a classmate took the stand in his own defense today. 19-year-old Owen Labrie charged with sexually assaulting a 15-year-old freshman at St. Paul's School in New Hampshire. Prosecutors say there is a culture of sexual exploitation amongst seniors at boarding school. Labrie told the court today he never had sex with the accuser.
The whole night we'd been chatting a little bit, and I guess flirting, and in between, we kissed a little bit, we chatted for a second, but after a few minutes standing up, kissing by the door, it was warmer in the attic, and we took our sweatshirts off. I mean, it was sort of playful. They weren't big kisses or anything. They were small. We'd both lean against the wall, or she would lean against me, or I would lean against her.
Labrie's accuser testified last week, and closing arguments are scheduled to begin tomorrow. This week's suspension of a college fraternity for using sexually suggestive banners to welcome freshman women renews a heated debate over whether fraternities should exist at all. The list of reasons to ban them only seems to get longer. Roxana Saberi reports.
A college fraternity house draped with bedsheet signs aimed at new students. The message was clear. This is the place to be if you want sex and a good time. The pictures hit the internet, and the president of Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, called it an outrage. The Sigma Nu National Office suspended all chapter activities pending an investigation. And the college's student government released this video saying the signs were offensive.
The actions taken by a few individuals this week certainly do not represent the position of the university or Old Dominion students.
The swift reaction follows a string of negative headlines. Earlier this year at Penn State, the Kappa Delta Rho fraternity was suspended over members-only Facebook groups with photos of naked, unconscious women. All this at a time when 1 in 5 women report being sexually assaulted while on college campuses.
No man has a right ever to raise his hand to a woman. Period. End of story.
The numbers prompted a White House task force to study the issue. Concern about fraternities is not just about sexual assaults.
There'll never be there'll never be
In March, the University of Oklahoma's Sigma Alpha Epsilon chapter was shut down after the video of a racist chant by some of its members went viral on the internet.
These people have acted in a way that is absolutely reprehensible and disgraceful. We cannot put up with it. As I said, they shouldn't even be allowed to call themselves Sooners.
51 Highland. What's going on there?
And there's the long history of college hazing, some ending in death, like the case of college freshman Carson Starkey during Pledge Week at California Polytechnic University in 2008. He was pledging Sigma Alpha Epsilon.
Carson was given a fifth of rum to share with the boy next to him. There was also a bottle or two of Everclear that was passed around.
He later died of alcohol poisoning. Pledge Week has been eliminated at Polytech, but the whole college Greek system is under fire, not just the fraternities. The University of Alabama's Alpha Phi sorority is being criticized for a recently posted recruitment video. The sorority's 72 members were seen running around in bikinis and dancing with the school's elephant mascot. Critics say the video objectifies women and shows a lack of diversity. Roxana Saberi, Al Jazeera.
And for more on the debate over fraternities and sororities, let's bring in 2 former members of the Greek system. Hadley Heath Manning, Director of Health Policy at the Independent Women's Forum. She's in Denver. And Andrew Lose is the author of a tell-all, Confessions of an Ivy League Frat Boy. He's in Manchester. And I believe we have Gentry McCreary. He's a consultant for the National Center for Higher Education Risk Management. Welcome to Let me start with you, Hadley. What do you say to people who at this point are arguing that sororities and fraternities need to be closed down?
I would say, just like with any large institution, these organizations are across the country. They're very diverse. You can find within them examples of bad behavior. You can easily find scandals. This is true of a lot of other organizations and institutions. But we shouldn't throw out the positives that Greek life poses for college campuses, along with the negatives.
What other organizations would you compare them to that have had bad behavior?
Well, I would say, for example, you can find college athletes often embroiled in some kind of scandal with substance abuse or other kinds of misdeeds, but that doesn't mean that we would shut down, for example, the entire collegiate sports system because you can find bad actors.
Andrew, what do you say to that?
You know, I would totally disagree with that. I mean, I think that we need to accept now that these are not isolated incidents. You know, these are data points on a large historical progression of what should be considered an example of the terrible behavior that's produced by the Greek system. So, I mean, we need to look at this as a structural problem. The system itself is flawed, and we need to, you know, repeal and replace it.
Hadley was in a sorority. You were in a fraternity. When did you decide? I mean, you stayed in a fraternity, I guess, for several years. When did you decide it was not a good thing?
You know, when I saw the hazing from the other side, you know, the disgusting, you know, depraved rituals that were performed, when I saw it from the position of a brother, you know, I realized that there is a huge moral problem with fraternities too, and we can't overlook that. You know, we need to see.
You were Rush chairman at SAE?
These results are. I was, yeah.
So did that go on while you were Rush chairman?
You know, it did, and I did see that firsthand, and I wrote about it in my book, Confessions of an Ivy League. You know, that's why you know, seeing it from that point of view, you know, we need to replace these organizations with groups that are safe for students on college campuses, especially for women. And we see time and time again that fraternities do not fulfill that major criteria.
Gentry, you're a consultant with an organization that advises both schools, I guess, and fraternities, and you say what about this controversy?
Well, I certainly see both sides of this. Andrew's point is well taken. This is more than just blips on a radar screen. If Andrew is looking to get rid of fraternities and sororities, I would suggest he start writing to his congressman to appeal the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, because the right to freely associate is granted to all Americans. And so just to say that fraternities and sororities should be banned is a very short-sighted and Pollyannish way to look at this problem.
All right, so how do you fix it?
I think we need to think. Well, we've got problems that are systemic both within higher education, at the fraternity and sorority national headquarters level, and frankly, in society beyond just fraternities and sororities and beyond just college. The story that you all previously reported on, the alleged sexual assault at the prep school in New Hampshire, is a perfect illustration of the fact that this isn't just a college problem. We need to start educating students much before they get to college about the dangers of rape culture and sexual assault and some of the things that these signs and banners at Old Dominion and other schools have been promoting. So this isn't just a fraternity problem. It's certainly not just a college problem. It's a much bigger societal issue.
But Hadley, it does appear there are some fraternities and sororities, but fraternities in particular, who have heard that message. Others who haven't heard the message. And why haven't they heard it?
Well, I believe some organizations make efforts to educate their members about alcohol abuse, about sexual assault, and about the proper and expected behaviors of their members, reminding them that they are constantly representing not just their but the Greek system as a whole and their universities as a whole. For example, you can take what happened at the Sigma Nu chapter at ODU, and you hear the response from ODU is this doesn't represent the entire university. My point is it doesn't represent the entire Greek system either. So these organizations themselves can take it upon themselves to do a better job educating their members about what the proper behavior of men and women in college should be.
Andrew, you get the last word.
Sure. I mean, I think that the idea that, you know, the fraternity organizations, whether on a local level or a national level, can reform themselves would be as ludicrous as saying that Goldman Sachs should run the SEC. I mean, we're looking at perverse incentives. It's not going to happen. There's a large lobby in Washington, D.C., frat pack, you know, many trade organizations that defend what is a, you know, multi-billion-dollar industry. You know, they take $150 million a year in tax-free dues from members. The idea that they're going to reform themselves out of this disgusting, deplorable behavior is laughable.
It's a discussion we will continue. We appreciate it, Hadley, Gentry, and Andrew. It's great to see all of you. Appreciate it.